Hey everyone. So, long day of videos, a bunch of videos. Um, I wanted to let you guys know that I've been getting demonetized a lot on this channel, and it's not even for crazy things. It was like my talking about Ascension video, um, amongst other things. And there's a lot of things that I want to share with you, and I've put a lot of time and effort into it. Now, for things that I just straight up cannot talk about on YouTube, I told you guys I'm never going to start a Patreon. I'm never going to start another channel somewhere like a Rumble or something where I can share that information. I've done what I've done so far, and I don't want to sound like a salesman, but if you really want to get into all the stuff that I can't talk about, it's all in my book series. So get it any way that you can. Get it through Amazon. Get it through me. I'll have a website directly in a few weeks, maybe a month, where I can do that. Um, or you can just reach out to me at into the rabbit hole series at gmail.com. This is where all the stuff that I can't talk about, all the stuff that mirrors real life, is. It's in the 8-book series, and it's going to be soon to be a 9-book series. So today is a happy day. We're going to do the book of Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, and Zechariah. And the reason I'm doing all these is because they're short, and also because we're closing out the Old Testament. We're going to be moving to the New Testament soon. So I wanted to get through all this. So let's start. So the first sign I talk about is Aquarius, which is technically represented by the man with the water pitcher. Now, technically, Aries begins the year, and even further back, Virgo begins the year. Whereas we have a dumb new year. I know it's astrologically based on the fact that Sirius is at its apex at midnight on December 31st and January 1st, but it's stupid. You don't have a new year in the winter, you have it in the spring when things come back to life. There's keywords in Aquarius: son of man or man, because this is the sign of the man, whereas Virgo is the sign of the woman. Baptism, because this is how you baptize someone. We'll just look at the picture. Water pitcher, because this is a water pitcher. Fountain, because fountains are literally built, the Greek fountains at least, were built to resemble this. Fountain, stream, river, pond, lake, ocean, sea. These are water bodies. Now, because Aquarius is an air sign in astrology, but it has water in the picture, they've encoded it to mean water, whereas Pisces is the mutable sign. It's the mutable water sign. It's the two fish in the water. So depending on which one you're talking about, Aquarius or Pisces, depends on the pattern that they make in the sky. And we're going to have some examples today. Aries is the ram, and in Aries you have March 21st, which is the spring equinox. It's a 12-hour day and a 12-hour night. It's also the Passover. There's 3 different Passovers. The first Passover is the ancient one. That's when the sun passes over the equator on March 21st, which happened about 3 weeks ago. Passed over the equator. And did you not notice that as soon as it started to pass over the equator, things just got monumentally hot in the northern hemisphere? If you notice that, it happens very quickly. The other Passover is the Jewish Passover, which is when the angel of death passes over all the houses in Egypt, and anyone that doesn't have the lamb or the ram, Aries being the ram, the lamb is the baby ram, blood on the doorpost, the firstborn sons get killed. It is also the Christian Passover, which is known as the resurrection of God's son. So whenever you're talking about ram, lamb, shepherd, or ram's horn, you're talking about Aries. Taurus is the bull. When you look at the sky and you see Taurus during the season where it's supposed to be, you know that you need to put the plow on the bull so that you can plant the seed so you can harvest in Virgo and Libra. So whenever you hear bull, ox, calf, or cow, you're talking about Taurus. Gemini is the twins. It's the story of Castor and Pollux Troy, whose sister was Helen of Troy. It's the story of Achilles. So whenever you hear twins or brothers, you're talking about Gemini. Cancer is the crab, and it's the sideways moving creature. So just as the sun rises a degree on its axis starting on December 25th, it stops rising a degree on June 21st. Then for 3 days, like the crab shuffling sideways, it rises to the same degree, hence moving sideways. Where then on June 25th, it's going to lower a degree and then continue to lower a degree every day thereafter. The crab in the ancient Egyptian time was known as the scarab. So whenever you hear crab or beetle, you're talking about Cancer. Leo is the king, he's the lion. He's the king of the jungle or the king of the savannah, the desert, whatever you want to call it. The ruling planet of Leo is actually the sun. So whenever you hear lion, lioness, or cub, you're talking about Leo. Virgo is the woman holding the wheat stalk. So remember before we said that you plant in Taurus, well, the virgins would cultivate the wheat in Virgo in order to make the bread for the year. So whenever you hear virgin, wheat, grain, seed, barley, corn, these are all grainy things, things that are harvested during Virgo. You're talking about Virgo. Now, Libra is the justice. It's the scales, it's the balance, it's the just one. The reason it's the justice is because it judges God's sun as it passes over the fall equinox. So remember, I was literally just talking to you guys about how when it crosses over or passes over, the Passover is celebrated. It's being heralded back to its height. It's height in Cancer. That's the summer solstice. That's the longest day of the year. That's when the sun is at its height. And then it moves out of Cancer and it goes into Leo, and the sun actually rules Leo, that area right there. That's the glory of Jesus. That's the glory of the kingdom. Now, here it's being mourned because it's passing over that equator again, but it's going downward. Now, the Jews always celebrate the new year on the fall equinox. Now, Libra is also wine season, which is when you plant for the grapes in Taurus, you could press the wine here. So whenever you hear law, judge, justice, the just one, divorce, marriage, court, wine, vineyard, wine press, olive oil, you're talking about Libra. Scorpio is the scorpion. He is the betrayer. When a scorpion bites you, it leaves an imprint in your skin that looks like a pair of lips. It's why the mafia has the kiss of death, and it's why Jesus was betrayed by Judas with a kiss. So the sun is judged in Libra, then it's betrayed in Scorpio, and then finally in Sagittarius, this is where the bow and the arrow shoot the sun and inflict further punishment on the sun. This is where the sun dies. Why? Because on December 21st, the sun is at its lowest point. It cannot rise any lower. It's dead. It remains at that lowest level for 3 days, which is why Jesus was dead for 3 days. When on December 25th, or the birth of God's son, it rises another degree and starts to make its way back to the top. So whenever you hear horse, bow and arrow, spear, or horseman, you're talking about Sagittarius. And then finally you have Capricorn, who's the goat, because he likes to climb the mountain. If you look at the zodiac wheel on the right, Capricorn's all the way at the bottom. Now, all the way at the top is Cancer. That's the summer solstice. So you're starting the climb in Capricorn up the mountain, going to the left a degree a day alongside the wheel. Just like the goat climbs the mountain starts climbing, or it's the climbing begins in Capricorn. So with that being said, let's go to the book of Micah. Hey, my namesake. A place for planting vineyards. You who live in Lachish, harness fast horses to the chariot. The vineyard is Libra and the horse is Sagittarius. The chariot is a constellation called Auriga, which is in Gemini. The chariot constellation, Auriga, was actually listed in Ptolemy's 48 constellations in 150 AD. Now, Sagittarius and Gemini are opposing signs, and this is also 2/4 of the mutable signs. I will prophesy for you plenty of wine and beer. I will bring them together like sheep in a pen. The wine is Libra. The beer comes from the barley harvested in Virgo. These are connecting signs. The sheep is Aries. Aries and Libra are opposing signs. Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with 1,000 of rams, with 10,000 rivers of oil, olive oil? You will press olives, but not use the oil. You will crush the grapes, but not use the wine. The calf is Taurus. The ram is Aries, and the olive oil is Libra. Aries and Libra are opposing signs. Taurus and Aries are connecting signs. They're always going to pair this together. It's always going to be the oil and the wine. They're always going to talk about that together, or the horse and the chariot. We'll get into that in a little bit. Or they'll talk about the calf and the ram. These are connecting signs. They'll always make these patterns. So the book of Nahum now. Galloping horses and jolting chariots. See, here you go. Horses and chariots. The horse is Sagittarius, and the chariot is Auriga, which is in Gemini. These are opposing signs. Habakkuk. Their horses are swifter than leopards, fiercer than wolves at dusk. They fly like an eagle, swooping to devour. The horse is Sagittarius, and the leopard is a constellation called Camelopardalis. The leopard is the pardalis part. Pardalis means leopard. The last few examples were Auriga, chariot, and Gemini, right? Horses and chariot. But guess what? Camelopardalis happens to be in Gemini too, and these are opposing signs also. The wolf is the constellation Lupus, which is in Libra. The eagle is the ascendant of Scorpio. Libra and Scorpio are connecting signs. Did you rage against the sea when you rode your horses and your chariot to victory? You uncovered your bow, you called for many arrows. Torrents of waters swept by, and there are no grapes on the vines, though the olive crops fail, though there are no sheep in the pen and no cattle in the stalls. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. So this one's very intuitive, or not intuitive, that's not the right word. This is very convoluted. The horse is Sagittarius and the chariot is Auriga, which is in Gemini, opposing signs. The bow and the arrow is Sagittarius. The waters is Pisces. The grapes and the vines and the olives, all three, are Libra. The sheep is Aries. Aries and Libra are opposing signs. The cattle is Taurus. Taurus and Aries are connecting signs. So now you have Gemini, Taurus, Aries, and Pisces. In these 5 sentences, you've made 4 connecting signs in a row. The deer is a constellation called Mariga, which is located in Orion, which sits between Taurus and Gemini. Gemini, Sagittarius, and Pisces are 3/4 of the mutable signs. Do you see all that's going on in this? And notice that I'm doing a bunch of books together and I'm just going through them, and there's examples in everything. Zephaniah. Her officials within her are roaring lions. Her rulers are evening wolves. The lion is Leo and the wolf is Lupus, which is Libra. Haggai. I called for a drought on the fields and the mountains, on the grain, the new wine, the olive oil, and everything else the ground produced on people and livestock. The grain is Virgo, the wine and olive oil are Libra. These are connecting signs. Finally, we have Zechariah. Riding on a donkey, a colt, the foal of a donkey. I will take away the chariots from Ephraim and the war horses from Jerusalem, and the battle bow will be broken. They will drink and roar as with wine. The Lord their God will save his people on that day, as a shepherd saves his flock. Grain will make the young men thrive, and new wine the young women. So the donkey is a constellation called Acellus Borealis, which is in Cancer. The chariot is Auriga, which is in Gemini. Gemini and Cancer are connecting signs. The war horse and the battle bow is Sagittarius. Sagittarius and Gemini are opposing signs. The wine is Libra. The shepherd is Aries. Aries and Libra are opposing signs. The grain is Virgo. The wine is Libra. Virgo and Libra are connecting signs. Gemini, Virgo, and Sagittarius are 3/4 of the mutable signs. On that day, his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives, from the Tower of Hananel to the royal wine presses. A similar plague will strike the horses and mules, the camels and donkeys. So the olives are Libra, the wine press is Libra, the horse is Sagittarius, the camel is Camelopardalis, which is in Gemini. Sagittarius and Gemini are opposing signs. The donkey is Acellus Borealis, which is in Cancer. And I didn't write this down, but Gemini and Cancer happen to be connecting signs. So look how many books we just did, guys. We just did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books. There wasn't a whole lot going on in all of them, but it's all there. I've gone through the Old Testament at this point. The Old Testament is done. It's on my YouTube. You can go back and listen to it. You can see these patterns. Probably asking the point of it. Well, astrotheologically, it's to map out the heavens. It's to tell poetry with the heavens. It's to act as a sky clock. It's to act as the first farmer's almanac, because they didn't have any sort of weather equipment. They worked on dream interpretations back then. They didn't have weathermen, watches, calendars, smart clocks, any of that stuff. This is what they did. This is how they did it. And that is the Old Testament. And I thank you very much for taking this ride with me. And we'll start getting into the New Testament soon. I've already got a book on the book of Matthew, which is so incredibly dense that you should watch that video. But that's where we're at right now. So talked about the book series. I talked about the channel getting demonetized. We're going to do the book of Mark next, but I'm going to give it a couple days because I have to go through it again. So love you very much, and I hope you share this.